Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 3, Episode 10 of Walker. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode where Walker got all those energy drinks and he meets up with Julia, and obviously it's leaning into what I've known for a long time. Like, there's no way this gray flag thing is done, and it seems like it's far from over. So Julia kind of theorizes that this is basically them kind of rebuilding themselves, and obviously they've targeted Walker for some reason. And obviously because we're diving into his military history, his history as a Marine, it has to have something to do with that. Now, I was kind of thinking maybe it was something along the lines of when he was a Marine back then, he saw something he wasn't supposed to see, and that's where this catalyst, why after all these years is happening now. But I thought it was maybe something they dealt with, maybe an operation that they did, which still could be the case. Like, maybe it's like you were involved in an operation or some side stuff happened that maybe you are a witness to that you just don't remember. Like, it's like, yeah, something happened that you saw that you're not supposed to see, or I don't know. Or it could just be legitimately Gray Flag wants to bring you into the fold. My theory still is Coop is not dead. His buddy, his mentor, his brother, he's not dead. He's still alive, and he wants to try and recruit everyone, but when people turned him down, he started ticking off the list, because the moment Julia looked into it, she found out that basically Walker revealed that the energy drinks basically, what was it, like the Department of Justice or whatever would send them so many that they basically just got sick and tired of them. So it was like an inside joke with them, but only those 5 people, because they were kind of broken down into different units. His unit included Coop and 3 others. So it's like, okay, so we're the only ones who would know that being an inside joke. So 2 of them, like after, because apparently like after he went home, after Coop died, like I think he went home, everyone else like read up for one more tour. 2 of those people died. Even I was like, that's a little suspicious. You died like in the past year. It's like, I mean, it was like, yeah, that sucks too, because it's like, yeah, Cordell was like, yeah, we were brothers, but we just kind of lost touch. I think it's that simple. I think it's that situation, and just like, right, being in contact was probably like too much of a reminder of just everything that they went through. And so for Cordell, it was just a lot easier just to kind of put that behind him. So, and it's like, yeah, you never have an opportunity to kind of catch up with them again, because 2 of them are gone. The only one that's left standing is Tommy, which makes him seem suspicious, because it's like, right, so, because Julia had theorized, hey, maybe the person behind all this might actually be a Ranger. She's not Ranger, a Marine. But even saying like, hey, maybe someone within the Rangers might be compromised. It's like, I mean, we already dealt with like some very corrupt people. I mean, look at the powerful position that Stan was in, and see what his whole deal ended up being. So it's not out of the question, but my suspicions are also on Julia. I made that clear, like in episode, like when we first got introduced to that whole element to her. I was like, I thought she was a plant. I thought that whole thing was like staged, but then we actually met her, and I'm like, oh, I guess maybe not. But now that suspicion is rising. Like, TV shows make me the most suspicious person ever. You would think I don't trust a single person, because I'm just like, I don't trust you, just because of that. Because I feel like, because I'm always waiting for the twist. I'm always ready. I'm always trying to try to see the blind side like 5 steps ahead, where it's just like, oh, someone comes at you, you get blindsided and you didn't see it coming. Like, I'm always looking for that. So like I said, TV shows make me the most suspicious person ever, because like there have been so many instances where I'm like, it's you. I know you're this, and it's like, oh, I guess you're not. And then it's like, oh, you actually were. I should have kept my guns. In other cases, I'm like, oh, I don't trust you. Oh, you turned out to be an okay person. So we'll see. I'm so flip-floppy with Julia now. I'm just like, the fact is that she's come, because even Cordell was like, oh, it feels like you're trying to isolate me from James. She's like, no, I'm just being a reporter, and that means being objective. And he's like, oh, as a Ranger, I'm very objective. She's like, I don't know if you are in this case. Because obviously I'm not going to believe like, oh, James is like corrupt or anything like that. It's like, no, he's on a warpath right now, sure. But I don't know if that ends up being a trickling effect of maybe there is a bigger part to play in all this, because there actually is a some form of corruption, like, kind of trickling down, because, like, not that James is corrupted, but what I mean is that someone higher up might be related to this gray flag thing. I don't know. He has every right to be pissed as he is, but it is like, man, he is on a warpath. He's lashing out. But I think, I don't know if things kind of played out the way they did this episode, especially with Trey, because of him, because he's the one that kind of, because I'm like, Cassie and Walker, like, Trey's done exactly what Cassie and Walker have done before, and yeah, they've gotten a little chewed out, but never to the extent, like, I was like, yo, we've never seen James that angry before. I mean, especially because it's like, yeah, he owes Trey a lot. Like, this is a guy that saved his life, all that motivated. He wanted, whereas, like, Mickey was supposed to be his successor, he wanted Trey to be his successor, like, put him in that position. It's like, right, you've helped me out, you've proven yourself that you've got what it takes to be a Marine, and now it's like, we're here, and now James is, like, on the warpath, because he's taking out his frustrations for Walker and Cassie out on Trey, because he's like, you got to be better. You have to. I can't let you, like, you slip up, and I can't allow you to kind of falter in any shape or form. And he kind of chews into Cordell and Cassie, and it's like, yes, they didn't compromise any of the evidence, but for him, it's like, right. Once again, this is on Cassie, who was kind of like, right, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, yes, she messed up big time. Because he latched onto the fact that she said gray flag. It's like, right, you shouldn't know that name. That's super tight-lipped, which even Julia knows the name, which even he's like, wow, you shouldn't even know that. She's like, I'm used to having information, so it's like, it is interesting that she would know that name. Even as a reporter, I don't know. She does have her connections and stuff like that, sure, but that's where I'm like, I don't know. Because even Walker's like, I don't know if we're working together, trust will kind of come later, but he's kind of putting a lot of trust in her, which I'm like, I don't know if you should. I feel like she's stringing you along, but it could, once again, be like either or. It could just be like, yeah, this is some orchestrated thing that in actuality she's like either like one of the, I mean, because she says it like, right, she's kind of very good at reading people, like that could be like, right, they decided to go a different tactic. Like, it could be like, yeah, I was right from the beginning that Julia was kind of a plant, and it's like, I mean, you don't know how deep this could go. It could be a thing of, hey, like, even her job at being a reporter and stuff like that, that was her camouflage. It's like, yeah, this is my front while I'm also doing all this shady stuff behind the scene. It could be that. And she could almost be like, I don't know if she's necessarily going to be the person in charge, but maybe she's like their go-to person. Like, say like Coop's alive. Say like that could be his go-to person to try and like get stuff done. Like, it's like, I need to break people, and maybe that's why Sean, I mean, this could also play into that. Sean's tactics could actually be based on her, because what is it? She's very good at reading people, so it could be a possibility that she read Walker, read all there is to know about him, and it's like, all right, and she's the one that armed Sean with all the tactics to mentally break him. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm reading too much in it, but it feels like that flows a little too good. Especially because she keeps making a point of, man, I'm so good at reading people, which is, I mean, yeah, it could just be a journalistic thing, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. It doesn't sit well with me. So either way, circling back a little bit, James is like, all right, is there anything else? And Cordell's like, no, not even telling him about the whole like Julia thing right now, because it's like, right, I don't want to drag James or Cassie or Trey into something that I don't know what it is, because especially considering like, cool, this gray flag thing ended up leading to my brother getting kidnapped and also tortured. So like, yeah, until I figure out what this is really all about, so we'll have to wait and see. But ultimately, at the end of the episode, which I think this also speaks volumes about, the fact is, Cordell had to be the voice of reason in that regard, because I feel like he's always been the wild card, but in this case, like, when they track down Tommy, he's like, oh, Julia, we don't have to do that. The fact is, she's going in guns a-blazing, but I think, if you want to look at her from not a suspicious standpoint, I think you can make the argument, it's like, she probably won't wreck, she's like, no, I've been face to face with, didn't she say, like, the leader of the Taliban or something like that, and it's like, I know how these people think. I'm not worried or whatever. I think you could make the argument you know, just like Walker's still figuring things out, so is she. Well, we know they both are. So I think that's more so like right, this is me going after the person I know is kind of at the top of all this, who put me through everything I went through. Like, she's still kind of going through it too. If, you know, once again, going at it from the lens of just she is a good reporter, that she found herself in a terrible... You can go at it from that lens of things. So... Once again, which side of things we'll ultimately have to find out. But Tommy, on the other hand, is like, yeah, I'm not behind this. Like the home dude who died in a car accident, he was run off the road. Home dude who had the heart attack, he was poisoned. Someone's targeting us, coming after us one by one. Tommy was like, I sent that to you because I figured you would be the one to understand the coded message. I didn't think you'd actually show up at my place because I'm trying to stay off the grid, and you show up here. That's not cool. So... we'll see how things kind of play out from there. Then on the Trey front, sadly things don't end as positively as they want. Especially, too, because Trey had that conversation with Bonham, too, which Bonham was like, no, you were born for this. Because Trey's like, yeah, he's enjoyed every job he's ever had. He's enjoyed the experiences. But this made this job as a Ranger. He finally feels like this is it. This is the one. This is the job I belong. Now, he was like, yeah, my mom probably a little, you know, that's a whole conversation, which even Bonham was like, yeah, it would be. Because his mom would be so happy about, like, oh, you're forced out? Oh, I'm sorry, baby. But you secretly be on the inside cheering. Yes, yes, yes. And she doesn't want this for her son. But, you know, once again, she didn't want him in a job that could be dangerous. Very much like, yeah, that's why she was happy when he, like, came home from the military. So, but yeah, it's just, you would almost think, you go like, right, it's all gonna work out, it's gonna be fine. It's like, nope, he got terminated, which, once again, conspiracy theory brain immediately goes like, right, could whoever this be, like, at the top of, like, maybe connected to Grey Line, could this be trickling down, trying to isolate Walker, leave him with no one by his side, like, try and dismantle, like, the circle he has, like Trey, and then maybe next is going to be Cassie, like, throw some complications. Speaking of other people, I won't lie to you, there was a twinge of suspicion thrown towards Kevin, when I'm like, I don't know, man, it's like, well, we know Sean tried to approach Cassie during the day. I mean, that's also what kind of made her a little reluctant to kind of go out. I mean, I think there was a reluctance to begin with, but I'm sure the Sean situation added more fuel to the fire. But her and Kevin go on their date, and obviously she's dealing with everything from, like, James ripping her and Walker and Trey a new one. But she's having fun with Kevin. We kind of learn a little bit about him. And once again, it's just like, I can't help but be a little suspicious. There's also this line from Julia in this episode that kind of ties into this, which I think is kind of hilarious. Hilarious in just like, oh, not like a haha, it's funny thing, just kind of like interesting. I shouldn't have said funny. I should just say interesting from the beginning. So I should, you know, something I thought was interesting. Just, I'm reading way too much into it, but it's like, oh, like Walker was like, yeah, there's no way people, like, these people would be, anyone I know would be behind this, because, yeah, in the Marines, we were brothers. And then what she say? Julia's like, well, Cain and Abel were brothers, which I think is so interesting because, well, once again, reading too deep into it, oh, Jarrett Padalecki, who was part of, Supernatural, who was also in Supernatural, Cain, and then there's also, like, the brother thing that's going on, obviously, between Michael and Lucifer. Oh, Sam was Lucifer's preferred vessel. Ultimately, Adam, who's played by the same actor who's playing Kevin, ended up being Michael's vessel. So there's so many parallels there that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm super reading way too much into that. I doubt any of the writers went like that deep into it, but it's just like, you can't kind of, my brain can't, because the moment I heard Cain and Abel, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny just because of the supernatural connection. But regardless. It's also interesting too, because, like, obviously, like, you know, Dean ended up getting the mark of Cain from Cain, so, and obviously, like, Destiny wanted, essentially, Sam and Dean to kind of be like that repeated history of brothers. Once again, Lucifer, Michael, Cain, and Abel. Once again, tangents and all that aside. But yeah, Kevin, I was like, all right, like, I don't know, are we going to find out that you're suspicious or not? But basically, you know, and also I love that him and Trey have that, like, back and forth talk of just kind of like that back and forth thing of like, oh, like the moment something go, they like immediately, I mean, they're bros and everything, obviously. So it's like, oh yeah, like he wants to call a mulligan. She's like, oh my God, I'm tired of all these like sports metaphors, you got between you guys. But, he overstepped this episode because he called in a favor to help with the Trey situation because he's like, yeah, I heard it trickle down only in combination with you being stressed at work, having a rough day, and also Trey talking about what happened. I pieced together that James has been on a warpath, so I kind of use my power and position to kind of nudge things, and it's like, yeah, like everything's gonna be okay. And for Cassie, she was upset by that. It's like, right, this is what I was afraid of, that work life, work and personal life crossing over, because she's like, you shouldn't have done it. But he was like, yeah, I was trying to like help you out. It's like, she's like, yeah, but I get it, but you should have like talked to me first before you made that decision. It's like, it is a complicated thing of like, yeah, this power, I can make this go away. And it's like, I think in his mind, he thought like, hey, everything would be fine. Like everything would be honky-dory. But it's like, no, everything, it's not okay. I wonder, did that have any negative, well, because even Kevin was kind of like, oh, he's going to get this whole thing with Trey taken care of, but it didn't get taken care of. So either someone went even above Kevin to kind of like more so grease the wheels to kind of to remove Trey, or because he said he was going to try and backpedal all of that, but she said he couldn't. So I guess maybe Kevin did backpedal, and without his backing, this is how it was going to play out. I don't know, because even Cassie was like, oh, he's going to get like a slap on the wrist. Because even Walker's been in this position. He's like, yeah, I've been in front of like the disciplinary committee more times than I want to admit. But so everyone, even James was almost like, wait, really? And the person in charge just kind of like nod his head. The disciplinary committee guy was just kind of like nodding his head like, yeah, this is what's happening. So even James got blindsided by him. But my point was like, was it James that kind of reported him in his fury, his anger, and that kind of led to all this? But once again, for him to kind of get so screwed over, once again, even though like, especially because Cassie kind of blames herself because she's like, right, the gray flag thing, that was kind of on me. This is kind of also on me, Trey. So, and also Walker's been in this situation so many times that it's like, whoa. Like, he's getting like ripped apart and like, I've never been in, so I'm sure that makes both him, Cordell, and Cassie kind of feel all sorts of ways about things playing out that way. So other elements to the episode as well is the situation with Bonham. Him and Liam, obviously it's like, right, we had our conversation, and he's like, right, I want to kind of continue this going forward about what we're going to... Well, he wants to have... I was wondering whether or not he was going to have that conversation with Liam that he was going to have with Cordell, but I'm like, well, Liam doesn't live there. He's there quite a bit, but he doesn't actually live there. I don't think he does he? No, he has his own place, right? But when Bonham brought that conversation up about, Cordell was thinking about leaving. It's like, moving out. It's like, oh, why would he think that? It's like, because I suggested it. I was like, I put my own spin on it, but last episode I was like, oh, Abby's gonna be like, shut up, Bonham, don't say that, he can stay as long as he wants to. Pretty much exactly what ended up happening. But it's like, oh, he's got his own responsibilities, how can he like take care of his family, when you are there to kind of clean up all his messes? But for Abby, it's like, his family, we're all family. Like, don't like make it seem like, oh, his family's just his family. Those are also our grandkids too. But he's like, yeah, like with your health and everything. Like for Abby, I think she doesn't want to be Bonham's excuse to like put, so obviously we don't know how. I mean, Walker's got a lot on his mind right now. He was supposed to show up for a family meeting, but he didn't show up, and neither did Liam. Because obviously Abby's trying to get to the core of this. Is like, what is this all about? And first and foremost, it's about, well, he's like, yeah, who's going to take over after the fact? It's always been a concern. But now everything with Cordell, now everything with Liam, there's just a lot of complicated stress. He even just says like, right, our lot. He basically said, I think the family life didn't turn out exactly the way he thought it would. He probably hoped like, yeah, it would be kind of an easier thing of like, right, I don't have to worry about the future of this like ranch and stuff like that. The fact is like Cordell or Liam, or maybe Cordell and Liam would take over. But it's like, that family's been throwing so many curveballs. I think that's really gonna get into Bonham. Like, there's just been so much, just ever since losing Emily, it's just been one thing after another. Liam has sat down with an accountant to try and talk about this whole business opportunity, obviously the charity that they're trying to start, and he's going to go in business with Stella. Now, it's like, yeah, we were going to be partners, but now we're going to be official partners on paper. So she's 18 now, she can sign contracts and stuff, so we'll see how that works out too. So some interesting threads, some interesting elements happening all at once. Obviously, we don't know how much other conversation Tommy and Cordell had because he had to show up for Trey's hearing. He ended up missing the entire hearing, so we don't even know what was said during that whole thing. So what the aftermath of that's going to look like, it's going to be so interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.